I got into the field of cybersecurity and penetration testing via computer programming. And to be more specific, I first learned Python, then out of curiosity, I began looking into penetration testing. As I got deeper into pen testing, I started applying my Python skills whenever, wherever, and however frequently I could. In essence, I combined the two with an interest to grow both skills at the same time. I have a lot of free tutorials on Python for cybersecurity on my YouTube channel, and I've also created specialized courses for Python and penetration testing. I've discovered that teaching is one of the best ways to learn. Now, let me take a step back for a moment. You can become a security researcher with no coding skills, and there are probably many examples of people like that. However, the fundamental truth is that you will become a much more skilled security researcher, pen tester, or bug hunter, in one word, a cybersecurity professional, if you own coding skills. The very simple reason is that you will possess more skills compared to someone who does not know any coding at all. You're able to read code manually, understand how different assets of a target communicate to one another, what they are talking to each other, how and whether or not the message is encrypted, and much more. With coding skills, you are able to spot potential weaknesses and flaws in the communication and/or in the message itself. A researcher with no coding skills cannot do that. Don't get me wrong, you don't have to be the next child prodigy of coding. You don't have to code the next social media or be a top-notch developer. In security research, you can go a long way by focusing only on the most efficient and relevant aspects of coding for your assessments. By that, I mean that you will be focusing on combining networking skills, cryptography and encryption, algorithms, math, automation. So you will be combining all of these with a coding language of your choice. My personal top picks in this case are Python and Bash. If you know nothing about coding or you suck at coding, well, get in line. Everybody's been there. I've been there. Let me give you the 10,000 feet perspective of my story. For more than 4 years, I tried teaching myself coding. I learned nothing and I failed miserably. I actually wanted to learn Java, but I couldn't do it. I wanted to code Android apps, and the language of choice back then was Java. I just couldn't do it. In 2015, as a last resort or final attempt, I decided to give it another shot. If I didn't succeed, I would forget about the whole thing. I picked Python, and my learning path was to emphasize practice. I focused on being super practical, on coding as much as possible, and on learning interactively. And this is the magic word, interactive. Therefore, I didn't stress too much with reading books or passively watching videos and courses. Instead, I focused on spending time on platforms that teach Python interactively, such as Edabit, CodeWars, SoloLearn, and some others. And at the same time, I would be watching videos and doing practical courses where I could code along. So this was also interactive. Most importantly, however, was that I began working on my own projects. I had a very big interest in bioinformatics, genomics, and analyzing genome sequences, so I played a lot with Python and a library called BioPython. It's a frequently updated library with more than 600 pages of reference manual. When I got into cybersecurity, I started coding programs and scripts for my play and for my practice. Most of my coding is posted on my GitHub profile, and like I said previously, I also teach Python on my YouTube channel and on other platforms because I find that's one of the best ways for me to learn as well. So in this case, it's a win-win situation. Now, between 2015 and now, I've developed sort of an intuition with Python. As weirdly as it may sound, I can often feel the mistakes in my broken code, and this is probably because of the hundreds, if not thousands, of hours I spent fixing and debugging my own code. Stack Overflow in that case has been a blessing. I'm still far from calling myself a solid developer because I do not code web pages or web servers from scratch. Yet, if I take a look at a piece of code in whatever language, I can have a fairly good understanding of what I'm looking at. I'm not shy of JS, C and C++, Bash, as well as assembly on top of my Python skills. As for penetration testing and security research, I wrote quite a few tools that help me in my ever-expanding methodologies. And I use the plural here because I have more than one methodologies, such as one for Recon alone, from which you're learning now, one for mobile apps, an expanded one for manual testing, one for network pen testing, and these are just to name a few. Okay, now let me give you an example of how I applied coding to my security research and bug bounty hunting. Say that I have a big target with a star scope such as star.google.com. After doing subdomain discovery, I get a list of thousands of subdomains, out of which many are down or offline, some of them are redirects, some lead to internal server errors, etc. To optimize my reconnaissance, I looked for a tool that would go through all of these subdomains and spill the status code for each of them, such as 200 for OK responses, 404 for not found, 403 forbidden, 300 for redirects, 500 for server errors, and so on. And I couldn't find a reliable tool. Now, maybe I didn't look hard enough, or maybe I was just eager to find a reason to code something on my own. And that's exactly what I did. Leveraging on a piece of code for multi-threading from another developer, I expanded and coded a tool that would go through a list of subdomains and give me the status code for requests to those addresses. Now, I posted one of the first versions of this script on my GitHub profile. Feel free to use it. The results that come out of the script should be further cleaned using Bash or Python. My whole point with this lesson is that you can be a security researcher with no coding skills, but you will be in a far better position and you will have a competitive advantage over other security professionals if you possess coding skills in your arsenal.